Okay, guys, I'm going to do the homework for 319. I know this was the last one, and this one was the one that everybody told me to go over every problem with. So the first problem, tan squared x equals 1 minus secant x, okay? Guys, each one of these you need to replace, okay? You have to look at the Pythagorean identities, all right? Tan squared x, if you look at your formula sheet, is really equal to secant squared x minus 1. You need to do a replacement. Once you do that, then you can set everything up. Oh, secant, sorry. Because it's all in the same function, secant. But you had to do replace. You couldn't replace this one because this is not anything squared. With all of the Pythagorean identities, it was always something squared. Once I set this up, it was rather simple. I'm going to set everything equal to 0. Add this to the other side, subtract this. So I now have secant squared x plus secant x minus 2 equals 0. At that point, guys, it's just factoring. It's secant x plus 2, secant x minus 1 equals 0. Secant x is equal to negative 2, which flips over to the cosine of x is equal to negative 1/2, which at this point, you know, you're looking in quadrant now 2 and 3, and x is going to be 2 pi over 3 and 4 pi over 3. From this point down, I shouldn't have to explain. We've done now problems like this in 2, 3, 4 videos already. Over here again, secant x is equal to, I'll bring the 1 over, which means the cosine of x is equal to 1. That is one of your quadrantals. Please know your quadrantals. Okay, x is 0 degrees and pi. The only thing different in this lesson than the previous lesson is you needed to substitute. That's the difference. You're going to have to substitute it. Let's look at question number 2, which also has a substitution. It is 2 minus 2 cosine squared x equals sine x plus 1. A lot of people have questions with this because your work was not consistent or neat. You have to just replace this. That is what's being replaced as an identity. Know your identities. Okay, I can't tell you anything other than study them. Okay, you should have them right next to you. I understand why we're even trying to memorize them. You're at home, have them next to you. So now you just replace this. This stays the same, 2 minus this stays the same. You replace cosine squared with 1 minus sine squared x equals sine x plus 1. The next part of this, guys, is just math. You're going to distribute. You're going to combine like terms. You're going to factor. 2. Negative 2 times 1 is negative 2. Negative 2 times that is positive 2. Sine squared x equals sine x plus 1. Okay, now we are going to combine like terms. So look over here, 2 minus 2. This 2 is attached. This is like saying 2x. Okay, you can't do anything with this. But these 2 minus 2 cancel out. They're gone. So now I bring these to the other side. Okay, for those of you who can't see it, who are still getting stuck on that, I want you to think of it like this. 2 minus 2 plus 2x equals x plus 1. Okay, take out that word, even if I want to put a square there. All right, you're not going to combine this. This is attached through multiplication. Okay, because a lot of people had that question. So now I'm left with 2 sine squared x. I'm going to bring this to the other side. Let me move up so you can see. Minus sine x minus 1 equals 0. Here I'm going to do my little trick off on the side. When I do that, my final factoring is going to be sine x minus 1, 2 sine x plus 1 equals 0. And again, we're just now at this point, it's a no-brainer. The only one that has a sign of positive 1 is pi over 2. and sine x equals -1/2. All right, here again, you're just going to look at your unit circle if you want to, know your values, which I've been telling you to know. There you go. And that's the answer. Let me move this back into the site for that. But again, the only difference here is you had to substitute in the beginning. All right, and know how to do math. Okay, the last one that we're doing. All right, you know what? I'm going to actually turn the paper this way. It took me all this while to figure that out. Secant squared x minus 1 plus tan x minus radical 3 tan x equals radical 3. Okay, so what I did is I substituted this. This right here is an identity. Secant squared x minus 1 really is tan squared x. So instead of writing that, I wrote this. Now, some of you may have just taken the secant squared x and replaced that. The 1 would have canceled out anyway because it would have been plus tan squared plus 1. So either or. But I just took this whole thing and now plus tan x minus radical 3 tan x. I'm bringing this over now. Minus radical 3 equal 0. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 items that I have to factor. Grouping, people. Grouping. Here, I need to take out a tan x, and I'm left with tan x plus 1. Here, I take out a radical 3, and I'm left with tan x, again, plus 1, which we know these two need to be the same. So I have tan x minus radical 3 times tan x plus 1 equals 0. Okay, this is going to be tan x equals radical 3. X is going to be pi over 3 in quadrant 1, and in quadrant 3, 4 pi over 3. Here I have tan x equals -1. Okay, tan is positive in 1 and 3, so we're looking for the negatives. So it's going to be 3 pi over 4 and 7 pi over 4. So again, the only thing different here is you had to first do a substitution using one of the identities. Okay, we're going to practice some more this week. Hope these videos helped you.